Helaine, we were talking during the break about some products, financial products, that are so bad, no one, probably no one should be looking at them. Variable annuities in particular. A variable annuity is a financial product that offers you a future income stream, but anything could happen between now and then. And I've never met anybody who could read one of these contracts and really understand them, including me, I'll admit it. They are long, they are sticky, and you were saying you believe even the insurers themselves don't understand these contracts.
Well, one of the things that happened after the book went to press is, for a time, they were offering amazing deals to people to buy variable annuities. Insurance companies, where they were offering extra percentage points in earnings and et cetera. And so people were lapping this stuff up. Yeah. And well, as it turned out, the underlying models for some of them were not as the insurance companies expected, and the insurance companies began to actually lose money on them. In other words, they had made a product so complicated they didn't even understand them. And they are now, some of them, trying to make offers to the people who bought these variable annuities. And I'd say they were, anywhere from mid part of the decade till a couple of years ago, to buy them back, take lump sum payouts so the insurance companies could get them back. Now that should tell you everything you need to know about this product. It is so complicated. If they don't understand it, how on earth are you going to understand it?
And these are sold on huge commissions,
These are sold on huge commissions, and then their cousins, equity indexed annuities, are sold on even higher commissions. Those are often also the subject of the free lunches and free dinners we discussed. And when you look at the sales literature for it, and I mean the sales literature for the salesman, not for you, it's extraordinary. I mean, people are promised cruises and trips and exotic locales if they could just sell $500,000, $1 million a year worth of these things. And the reason that they're given these things is because they're a hard sale. Most people don't understand them, and they probably shouldn't be in them in that case. By the way, total aside, good rule of financial thumb. If you don't understand it, don't get involved in it. Very basic.
Very good rule.
And the sales materials were extraordinary when I saw them. I couldn't believe it.
Before the break, we were talking about gullibility, people's gullibility, and maybe I'm being gullible, but at one point in the book, you say you were sorely tempted to try one money-making scheme, and that is to take what Mad Money Jim Cramer says and do the exact opposite. I'm not sure if you were kidding or not.
If I didn't have small kids, I might have tried it out for a month or two and seen what happened. Somebody, I believe it was at the University of Dayton, actually ran all his picks from various times through various computer simulations and found that the best thing you could do is short anything he mentions. And there were some corollaries to this. If it was the smaller the company, the more likely the short would work. It's a lot, just frankly, Jim Cramer or no Jim Cramer, it's a lot harder to move IBM than some company like Boxes R Us on NASDAQ.
Let me just point out, short is the main strategy that traders use to invest, to try to make money off a stock they think is going to fall. Okay.
Right. And, there's various theories as to what's going on here. Is he just mentioning momentum plays? In other words, things that are already going up.
Right.
Barron's has looked at his record several times, walked away beyond unimpressed. But, he has a huge following. People really like him. He makes stocks look like a lot of fun. I mean, I watch the show, I have to confess. I want to turn it off in about 30 seconds. I just see the screaming man, and why would anybody want to scream at me about stocks?
You're screaming talking about him. I can understand. I often get the same feeling.
But apparently this is really, people find this quite entertaining. And he can make it seem very down to earth and fun. But, the average person isn't going to monitor the stocks the way they need to. They're not going to do it. I mean, people have told me over and over again stories of, investing based on a stock tip from Jim Cramer. And of course, then the stock loses money. But if you ask, to be fair to Jim Cramer, if you ask them, a lot of these people just thought they could hold on to the stock. They weren't trading in and out, which is what his specialty was, of course. So it's really, it's not a great fit. But, CNBC is making money promoting it, so.
I will point out, if you just type in Jim Cramer performance results into Google, which I've done a number of times, there have been numerous studies showing very unimpressive results to his scheme. So I agree with you. If there's a good way to make money, let's do the opposite of what Jim Cramer recommends. For that matter, as you point out through the book, we might go opposite the advice of Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman, who, of course, a lot of people revere. You're saying, as a sum total, these media stars who are giving us financial advice really are hurting us more than helping us. Why?
Well, I always say, it's like for the past several years, a lot of us feel like we've lived through the economic equivalent of Hurricane Sandy. And what a lot of these people are doing is they're saying, hey, put up a few sandbags, here's an umbrella, do as I say, and you'll be fine. And even better, they're the ones selling you the umbrella and the sandbags that they say are going to make you fine.
Could you be specific?
Yeah, Susie Orman, for instance, who, by the way, has famously said she will not invest in the stock market herself, set up with a Money Navigator, a newsletter for a time, with a small mutual fund advisor, who was getting amazing results. Well, one of the reasons it turned out he was getting amazing results was because he had had a typographical error and had misstated some return numbers of the indexes. It's a lot easier to get, great results when you do that. So she was doing that. Dave Ramsey has told people to this day that they can expect 12% average annual returns in the market. And I guess, to be fair, they did get that in 2012, but that was 1 year. That's not a number people have ever gotten at any consistent basis. And, the other thing he's done, which I find amazingly hurtful, is he's urging people to not declare bankruptcy. And this is a really important point, and we have to talk about this for a minute. Bankruptcy exists for a reason. You might not like it. It's not, nobody wants to declare bankruptcy. The world, despite what a lot of people think, the United States is not full of people who are running up their credit cards and then running to the bankruptcy courts. The United States is full of a lot of people who live in a very uncertain society, who get stuck with huge healthcare expenses, lose their jobs, their families fall apart, and they run up debt. They start small businesses. It's another huge source of debt. And in fact, we have some evidence to show that people who start small businesses and freelancers end up in bankruptcy court more often than people who have regular corporate jobs. So when I actually looked at this, I spoke to people who, I put out a request. I wanted to hear from people who followed Dave Ramsey, and I was looking for success stories. And I would talk to people who had said they'd paid down some of their debts. And I found people who, in one case, somebody was still hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. He was an airline pilot. He was earning what he had earned or would have earned in 1991. The salaries have been frozen for years. Most of his debt came from an ill-timed home renovation from before his salary was cut. And then he and his wife tried to better their position. They started a small business. And what happened to most small businesses happened to their small business, is they ended up with even more debt. And I was on the phone, and you're trying not to interject yourself. You're trying to be a reporter. And I think I finally said, but why don't you declare bankruptcy? And he said, well, Dave says not to. And I just, I couldn't believe it would really help this person to not declare bankruptcy. The mess was, he was never going to dig out of this. I mean, or if he was so going to damage his future retirement prospects, children's college, and the rest, that it wouldn't have been worth it. And I just think the idea of this one-size-fits-all advice just doesn't work for very many people.
You point to the high level of bankruptcy, and I believe it was Elizabeth Warren, the current consumer czar, who did a study saying that more than half of all bankruptcies are caused by medical costs. And rising medical costs are one of a number of reasons that Americans are not saving. And you talk about a number of other reasons. And you say that the financial journalists out there are by and large telling us it's our fault, but it's really not. Discuss that.
Yeah, it's one of the things. We all see people spending too much money, so we immediately just assume this is what's going on. You walk down. We're on Fifth Avenue right now. You walk out the door here, you'll see people carrying shopping bags, right? But in fact, what's going on is we look at the survey data. Between half and 2/3 of people, depending on the survey, routinely say they cannot save money. They are living paycheck to paycheck. And I felt we needed to turn this problem on its head. I refuse to believe half to 2/3 of the American public is routinely lying to pollsters about what they're up to here. I can't bring myself to believe that one. And in fact, when you look at it, and Elizabeth Warren she's sort of the goddess of these sorts of statistics. what has happened is our salaries stagnated and fell. You know, men under the age of 45 pretty much do not earn what their dads did. Little harder to judge with women because of the change